Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what is very quickly becoming the most exciting World Chess Championship match that we have ever seen. And for many of you, that is not an understatement. You have probably only ever seen one or two World Chess Championships. But it's Jan Nepomniachtchi of Russia, Ding Liren of China. It's game 9 out of 14. And through 8 games, it is 4.5 to 3.5. This match has had it all, okay? From blunders, freezing at the board, back and forth victories with the white pieces, disastrous opening experiments, and yesterday, leaked prep, okay? And today, we continue our journey as this match just keeps on giving. Every single one of these games has been spectacular. Results are unknown. A draw is the least likely result that we are guaranteed in the game, which is incredible. You cannot say that for top-level chess. In this game, Jan now has the white pieces. Why does he have the white pieces? Because yesterday, Ding had the white pieces, and Ding put a lot of pressure on Jan. In fact, achieving a winning position on multiple occasions. Now, a lot of people after yesterday's result thought the match is almost over because Ding has missed too many chances. The pressure is getting to him. Let's see. Well, you also might remember that every time Ding has played e5, he hasn't gotten a very good position. He has entered the Spanish, which is the opening that he knows best, but after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, he hasn't had a good time, all right? He just hasn't had a good time at all in this match. And no matter what he plays, it seems like his opponent has something for him. And Ding plays the Berlin. Berlin in the Spanish is characterized without the move a6, and we've seen already this position. But knight f6 is inviting what is known as the Berlin endgame after knight takes e4. However, nowadays, it is very popular for white to invest a full move into playing this, and this prevents black from taking on e4, and this is called an anti-Berlin. So you will remember, maybe not, Jan has played anti-Marshalls, and he has played now anti-Berlins against Ding. He is trying to get Ding to play this position with pawn on e5, and so on. Now here, the most common move by far for black is to develop the bishop to c5. That is to the surprise of nobody. And now white has no less than like 5 options. White can take on c6. White can play c3. White can play knight bd2. White can play castle. I mean, I'm pretty sure white can play bishop g5 if he really wanted to. White can basically play anything. And over the last few years, top players have entered this position, and they have had some very interesting discussions there. Jan plays the move c3, which simultaneously prepares these two moves and also prevents black from playing knight d4. And now we have the move castles and castles. So when you put the bishop on b5 and black is just offering up this capture over here, you would think that, you should probably be taking on c6 and playing, h3, and black will play knight d7. It's a very, very complicated position after bishop takes c6. But no, just castles. And now Ding attacks the center with the move d5. Okay, now here's one more thing. This position, the Berlin and the anti-Berlin, after d3, bishop c5, remember that secret training account that nobody was supposed to know about? Well, they've played a few games on that secret training account in d3, bishop c5. So, Jan starts seeing what Ding has prepared in his Berlin defense, and in his anti-Berlin d5 is just about the most aggressive move that you can play. In general, Ding is not going to go d6. If Ding gets an invitation to play the move d5, just like in the Marshall, which is what he likes in normal Ruy Lopez, he is going to be playing the move d5. This is a very concrete move, not to be confused with cement. Although I'm pretty sure that... What is actually the difference? Fascinating question. I don't know. Oh, and if I say or do anything loopy today, please excuse me. My allergies are at an all-time worst level, like horrible level right now. My head feels like a gigantic balloon. My throat is irritated. My sinuses are irritated. It ain't good. Now, this move d5. If white takes on d5, black will probably take back with the queen with very good pressure. So instead, Jan plays knight bd2, and we have pawn takes, and a very weird move, okay? a5. Now, a5 is explainable because it prevents white from playing b4. It also allows any of these pieces to go back to a7 if for some reason that is necessary. And also black can play a4 in the future. Like, just a very, very, like black could play a4. Because that would restrict the queen side. So Jan plays a4 himself. You'll notice that Jan is not thinking. Clearly, Jan knows exactly what he's doing. Ding also knows what he's doing. He plays queen e7. And after queen c2, a very funny move gets played in this position, which is the move knight to b8. Essentially, black is like, look, you had your chances. You did not take my knight. You did not damage my structure. And, you know, you could have gone here, but then black would have gotten this. Oh, that's not possible. Black would have gotten these laser beaming bishops, and I really don't think white really wants to deal with that. So instead of that, we have queen to c2 played, knight b8, and oh my god, I'm going to freak out. My nose is so itchy. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to scream when this recap is over. My nose has not stopped itching in like an hour. I'm just gonna go take a nap, okay? Because when you take a nap, you cannot scratch your nose. Unless you can, then you're very talented. The point of knight b8 is that is no longer possible. You can also now hit with c6, knight d7 in the future, and so on. Rook d8. Now both sides make improving h-pawn moves, okay? And knight f1. Both sides are trying to slide their knights out of the center of the board to develop dark-squared bishops, knights, and so on. And Ding is doing everything that he is supposed to do. This is all part of his preparation. But the introduction to this video is now over. We are about to have an absolutely massive battle. I hope you're ready. Jan plays knight g3. When the two knights in the Ruy Lopez arrive on the king side, they only mean trouble, okay? They do not have any good intentions for the black king. 1, 2, 3, 4. This could go here and there. The queen could come help. The rook can come help. What's this knight doing, right? Like, what are these pieces doing? Now, the position is equal. Make no mistake. But it doesn't feel very pleasant. Now, after queen c7, which, by the way, look, Ding spent 55 seconds on that move. They're still following a game. In fact, Mr. Hikaru Nakamura himself against Wesley So had this position in the Chess.com Global Championship. Now, here Jan plays bishop a2. All right, as you can see, 20 minutes spent on that move. Jan did not get locked in the toilet. He also is not pretending to think about his prep. He just doesn't know the best move, so he plays bishop back to a2, which I guess sidesteps certain things and could maybe get something to c4, maybe queen b3 in the future if possible. I think it's just kind of like it's also a little bit of a waiting move and trying to sidestep various b5s. But Ding plays b5 all the same. So Ding, also on his own, as you can see, spending about 4 minutes, plays b5 and is maintaining a very big time advantage against Jan and is the one pushing the pace. In this game, Ding is going to try to instigate on the queen side, and white is going to try to instigate on the king side. He plays queen to e2, which targets that freshly arrived pawn and tries to get it to take in order to split black's pawns. Black says no thank you. Rook to b8, I'm ready to go. But rook to b8 is a bit of an inaccuracy. As you can see, the 15 minutes spent on that move. Knight h4, and oh my, Jan has a better position. Jan's bishop staring at the king, the knights staring at the king, the bishop, the queen. This is an absolutely terrifying position. Bishop goes back to f8, all the way home, leaving the center of the board completely so that this knight can come to c5 and put pressure on various things. Now Jan plays queen f3, a very subtle move, improving the position of his queen and targeting the knight. That's what chess really is. It's just what pieces can see what. Every piece has eyes, just like you, all right? Queen f3, b takes a4 from Ding. Absolutely cold-blooded move, just takes a pawn. Does not care about the queen, does not care about the bishop, does not care about the knight, does not care about this knight. Takes a pawn, because when white starts chugging over this way, the rook needs to hit this. Ding's entire position hinges upon the rook hitting b2. And Jan Nepomniachtchi strikes first by landing a big right hand bishop taking on h6. He has stripped a defender of the black king. If g takes h6, the queen takes the knight, and Ding is on the ropes, probably dead lost. Why is he dead lost? You can no longer sufficiently guard your king. I've got too many threats coming in. I've got checks coming in you can't take. I have rook e3, knight f5, rook g3. Position is looking absolutely dire, and Jan is on the verge of getting a 2-game lead in this match. So Ding needs to hold his nerves. A couple of moves ago, folks, Ding was up 20 minutes on the clock. A couple of moves later, after bishop takes h6, Ding is now down. How many minutes is that? 17 minutes? From up 20 to down 17, a 37-minute time turnaround. This is crazy. He plays knight c5 because everything in his position is seemingly protected, but now Jan has an opportunity here to slide back and pressure like this, but Jan can't contain himself, and after bishop takes h6, he plays the absolutely disgustingly knight to g6. I have never seen something like this. There are 2 pieces standing directly in front of the king side. You can't take one of them because of the rules of chess. And if you take the other one, I play queen f6 and it's mate on the next move. And if you go here, I do this and then I take and then it's game over. Knight to g6. Look at this position. The amount of pressure that Ding Liren is under here. Everything that I've highlighted has something staring at it. Look at this. Everything in Ding's position. His hands are up. He's like, Jan, take it easy. It's like a movie moment. Now, Ding, cold-blooded, just takes a pawn. I mean, the soldiers are standing outside, knocking on the castle walls. And Ding just takes a pawn. He says, do your worst. What are you going to do? And Jan removes the bishop. The bishop has been absolved from its duties. One of Black's pieces now needs to recapture, and the pressure is only building. It's building to the extent that I'm pretty sure you can even sacrifice. I mean, there are some insane lines here. You can play bishop takes g7, you can play queen e3, hitting the knight and trying to go to g5, and then there's like some absolutely ludicrous lines where Black could potentially survive, but he's under a lot of pressure. Knight f5, queen g3, and so on. The computer needs a little bit of time to catch up here. But like, there's craziness out here after rook takes f8. White also has moving the bishop out of the way of the rook. White can also play queen to e3 and bishop back to g5. It's a very, very big moment in this match. Can Jan Nepomniachtchi gather his nerves? He plays bishop to g5, applying pressure. If he is able to take the knight, he wins the game. Why? Because after bishop f6, gf6, knight h5, queen g3, queen f6, and there will be mate on g7. I mean, folks, when I tell you that this game is is balancing itself on like the edge of a cliff for Black, I am not exaggerating. Ding Liren now has to remove his knight from the line of sight, and the bishop develops back, undevelops back to its home square to attack the rook. Now here, Ding has to play rook c2, nuzzling himself in White's position with pressure. I don't know why I highlighted this. With pressure on everything, or this. Why did I highlight the rooks? The rook can't see the rook is not a knight. But instead, he backs up. And here, something really epic happens. Bishop a3, putting pressure on the knight. And the bishop is still looking here, and there's a rook behind. And Ding plays rook e8. You know why? Because after bishop c4, threatening the rook, the knight is under attack. I'm not going to leave and let you take my knight. I'm not going to do that. Do you know what Ding's plan was after bishop c4? Ding sacrificed the rook, bishop e6. Oh my goodness, he is just letting Jan take. He is completely aware that a rook is worth more than a bishop. But if you take this, this opens up a Pandora's box of complications. These pawns are coming down the board. I mean, if something like this were to happen, Black would be in the driver's seat, okay? So bishop e6, Ding Liren on the verge of succumbing to the pressure, plays a bishop move and gives up a rook. Just completely sacrifices a rook. This man Ding, despite being a game down in the match and playing with Black and being under pressure the whole time, he's sacrificing a rook to play for a win. I mean, you gotta love this stuff. This is spectacular stuff. Rook b5 and bishop e6 is legendary. And Jan, unfortunately, takes the bishop. He actually likes what he sees for Black there. He takes the bishop, and instead he continues the game like this. It is now queen, rooks, knight, and bishop versus queen, rooks, knight, and knight, and several pawns. If you count the material, actually, black is a pawn up, but his pawns are on the A file. It's still an absolutely fascinating game. Black plays c5 here, undefending the rook, but blocking out the bishop, right? Rook b3 and c4 is possible in the future to apply a little bit more pressure. As you see, there is rook b3 getting out of the way, defended by the pawn. We have queen c4 with pressure on a4, and black defends that pawn, but now bishop c1, and the pawn is no longer guardable. Now, if you traded all pieces here, black would be winning. Why? Conceptually, why? Because of the outside pass pawn. If only kings and pawns were left, the black a pawn is very close to queening. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you want to win the match, there's more pieces on the board. And not only that, the rook actually stares at this. So after knight to f6, the queens come off, and the rook takes on c3, and white gets back the pawn on e5. Rook b4, white gets the pawn on a5, black gets the pawn on e4, and when the dust settles, we have the following position. Now, what's interesting about this position is that after rook to a4 attacking this knight, black faces an extremely uncomfortable decision. And the decision is basically, you can run around the board with the knight. But after I play something like rook to g4, if you play g6 trying to get out of danger, I don't actually have to move my knight, and I can slowly apply pressure for the rest of the game. So here, Ding Liren does something extremely professional and something which separates the top players in the world from the amoebas like myself, and if myself, then definitely yourself. Ding in this position, rather than running around the board like a, with the circus horse, he plays knight d4, completely giving up a pawn, just like looking like a one-move blunder. But you know why he did this? Because this is not a winnable endgame. Because this is what we call a 3-on-2 on one side of the board. This is a draw, whether rooks stay on or whether knights stay on. It's actually funny. It's probably not a draw with kings. King 3 versus king 2, probably the king and 3 are going to win. Although sometimes even king and 2 can draw that. So Ding just does something extremely professional here and just goes to this endgame. And this endgame lasts 40 more moves. Why? Why didn't they just agree to a draw? If I know it's a draw, why did they play 40 moves? Because it's the World Championship, and as the person with the extra pawn, you need to take your chances. You never know if your opponent's going to blunder. Furthermore, it's draining your opponent, right? I mean, it's sort of draining their life force a little bit. By the way, the black knight couldn't get taken. It couldn't get taken because, as I said, rook endgame is going to be a draw. Rook and 3 versus rook and 2 is a draw in most cases, especially when the defending side is in prime position to stand in the way of the pawn. If the black king was over here, yeah, probably black is going to lose, but not right now. And so I'm going to continue to click the right keyboard, and I'm going to summarize, and maybe I'll say a few jokes so you don't leave. I told you, knight endgame, probably also a draw. Why is this a draw? Well, if you think about the meta strategy here, black has 2 pawns, white has 3. If you simplify that down, it's going to be 1-0. And white is trying to make a queen. But even if white makes the queen, black is going to sack the knight for the pawn. And then it's going to be king and knight versus king, which is unwinnable. Make sense? Now, if it was king and rook and pawn, that would not be a defensive strategy because king and rook can obviously beat a king. King rook versus king rook and pawn will just try to defend themselves. Now, here, Jan gets even this far, and he has a pass pawn, and it's very scary. But again, these are professionals. And you see Ding is trying to chase down one of Jan's pawns. My thing here is going to get a little bit laggy if I keep Stockfish on. So I'm going to keep clicking. By the way, King F4 here. Probably also holdable, but absolutely no need to play into this. Okay, because there's this, and King G2, H6, F4, H7, F3, H8, Queen, F2. And this is actually a drawn king and pawn endgame because this is but you need to know how to defend this, and there's absolutely no need for, all of these fireworks, and so on, and so forth. And it took 82 moves, but the players made a draw in this position because black will sack the knight for the pawn and make a draw. This was a very fun game. I know you guys want somebody to win every single game, but folks, I gotta tell you, for a bounce back game for Ding, unable to convert yesterday with the white pieces in a totally winning position. I thought he was on the ropes. He re-enters the Spanish, okay? And opening, he's been getting really clobbered in this match, and Jan has been the favorite when he plays the Spanish. He plays an anti-Berlin. He plays a very, very cutting-edge line, which has only ever been played once or twice. Look at this position that he was facing. I mean, Ding was under substantial pressure in this game, and he held his nerves, and he even sacked a rook and tried to play for a win. He tried to sack a rook to defend aggressively. This man is not a pushover. He is not docile. He's not going to sit there and be like, oh my goodness, maybe I can. No, he's playing for a win with black when he's down in the match. Now, this one ended in a draw. So after 9, it's 5-4, but who knows? Who knows what's coming next? And if Ding wins game 10, it's 5-all. And that's what I'm hoping for, because I just root for chaos. So I'll see you for game number 10. Get out of here.